My family doctor was dumbfounded with the pain sensations I was describing to him. Try as he may, he could not find the cause for what I had described as a burning pain that went from my abdomen to my lower back where it was worse. He was frustrated that his extremely thorough examination he was conducting on me was not giving him any answers. He ordered, "Have your son drive you to the emergency room, and I will be there a few minutes later." The pain and burning sensation were getting so strong I was doing everything possible not to scream. It appeared that my condition was obvious to others because of their "you look green" comments. A few minutes after my arrival, my family doctor arrived and I was immediately admitted to the hospital. I spent that night turning and twisting in pain because no test could tell the doctors the reason for the pain. The following morning, my doctor had brought another doctor with him, and he introduced him to me as Dr. W, who was an internal organ surgeon. Dr. W told me that he believed my problem was caused by my appendix and that he needed my permission to do surgery immediately. I used my right hand to grab him by the necktie, and I pulled him down until his face was less than an inch away from mine and yelled at him that I didn't care what he did with me because I was in too much pain. Still grabbed by the necktie, Dr. W started barking orders and I was taken to the operating room without hesitation. The operating room was around 20 by 20 feet with the table in the middle. All kinds of machinery were above, below, and around the operating table. Besides Dr. W, there were 2 males and 2 females in the room. The anesthesiologist looks at my eyes and said, "I bet you can't count back from 100 after I put the mask on you." I told him he was wrong and I didn't get past 98 before I passed out. Without any signs or warning, I found myself looking down at the whole operating scene. I will not say I was floating because I did not feel like floating. It was more like observing a television screen. The sound of the machinery in the room and the conversation between the doctors and nurses was clear to me. I knew something was wrong with my body in the moment I thought that I heard the surgeon say, "I lost him, I lost him." I heard these last words in that room before finding myself somewhere else. Only an extreme non-blinding white light surrounded me. There are no words in the human language to do justice to this light while trying to describe the love I could feel all around me. I knew that there were others there. I knew that they were all happy and loving each other and me. My mind was with theirs and theirs were with mine as if we all could communicate instantly with one another. Others were there, but I could not see them. It was as if the white light was acting as a curtain that didn't let me see anything else. Suddenly, I noticed 2 hands coming out of the light in front of me and I knew instantly that those hands were my dear grandfather Juan's hands. When I was a little boy, I used to sit on Grandpa Juan's lap to talk with him. I was always fascinated by the size and roughness of his hands. The joy in my heart and soul were so strong when I saw Grandpa Juan that I just grabbed him and hugged him. He told me that he was very happy to see me and that he loved me. He then added, "But Claudia, it is not your time, and you must go back. Don't worry because we will see each other again very soon." He was the only person in my life that called me Claudia. I told him I didn't want to go back because I wanted to stay with him, but to excuse me a moment because somebody was calling my name. The voice calling my name got very loud, and I opened my physical eyes yelling at the nurse that was trying to wake me up, "What?" She was taken aback and asked me if I had a bad dream. I just stayed silent. I could still feel the warmth and love of the white light, and I could still smell my grandfather. "No," I told her again. "I had a great dream and you woke me up at the worst time." The nurse just looked at me like saying to herself something like, "Be patient, he is just waking up from anesthesia." I was rolled to my room and slept until the next day. The following morning I learned that the operation had lasted hours because my appendix had burst more than 24 hours before I was admitted to the hospital. Somehow, the appendix stood up and went behind my colon where it burst. The incision on my abdomen is 7 inches long and the reason for that is that the surgeon had to wipe my insides clean of the burst appendix infection that was all over my internal walls and organs. I was in the hospital for 9 days with an 4 in place. All 9 days, the 4 could only dispense the medication needed to combat the infection. On the 9th morning in the hospital, I was ready for the surgeon's morning visit and checkup. I asked him to sit down, cautiously and slowly. I knelt in front of him and begged him to release me from the hospital. For the first time I confessed to him that I knew he had lost me during the operation. He told me that he had ordered everybody to stay quiet about that because I was not out of the woods yet. When I finished describing to him the scene in the OR when he lost me, and my visit with my grandfather, he clearly understood me when I said that I knew that I would die if I stayed in the hospital. He ordered my release with incredibly difficult restrictions for home care. Obviously, I survived the whole ordeal, but as the years passed I started doubting my own memory of the events from that surgery. 5 years later, and while walking to my table at a restaurant, a man at a table I was passing stood up and grabbed/hugged me. I had no idea who the loon was who took my breath away with his hug. The man then released me and with tears in his eyes tells the other man at the table, "This is the patient I have told you about all these years. Yes, the one whose appendix burst behind his colon. He died in surgery and his grandfather sent him back." Dr. W then proceeded to tell his friend and me that when he released me my prognosis was not good. He said that after the 9 days in the hospital I would not suffer more by going home as long as I followed his instructions. He finished by saying that when I knelt in front of him and told him my side of the surgery, that he could see in my eyes that my grandfather was right and that it was not my time.